Shalom, shalom, shalom to everyone watching. This is Rabbi Moshe Otero, Ways of Israel, and welcome to our morning study and learning. And we're going to be looking at today chapter 24 of Sefer Haikkarim in the first book of Rabbi Albo, and looking at chapter 24. So immediately come and be part of this learning, and we're going to be looking at chapter 24. We almost have one more chapter to go to finish this first book of Sefer Haikkarim, and I'm sure most of you have already seen the previous videos. And the good thing about it, this is being uploaded afterwards on our YouTube channel, so that way you can be able to see it, you can review it. We have a whole series of different videos and shiurim for your learning and edification. Now, one thing I will ask you is to please become a member of the Ways of Israel. Very simple to do. You can download the application to become a member. It's only $100 a year if you want to add several years, be a lifetime member. We'll send you a little ID saying that you are a member of the Ways of Israel, Los Caminos de Israel, and with your picture ID and all the information that you are a live and participating member with us here at the Ways of Israel. I know, perhaps you say, well, what's the benefit? There's a lot of benefits in becoming a member of a non-profit, 501c3, tax-exempt organization, religious institution here in the United States. And so when you do so, let me know. We'll get your ID out there to you, and that way you'll become a member, an on-live member of the Ways of Israel. Now, let's start with chapter 24 to get the day starting. And we must call attention here, says Rabbi Albo, to a question concerning religious belief. Is a person who professes a given religion permitted or obliged to investigate the principles of his religion in order to see whether they are true or in agreement with what have been laid down concerning the principles of divine law or not? And assuming that he is permitted to do so, has he the right to choose that religion which seems to be to him true or not? Whichever the alternative will adopt to offer great difficulties. In the first place, if we say that one professing a religion is obliged to investigate the principles of his religion, which by the way can be earth-shaking, or is permitted to institute a comparison between the principles of his religion and those of another, i.e., for example, Christianity or Islam, the result will be that no religionist will be firm in his belief and will therefore deserve no reward for belief if he is not firm therein and free from doubt. For we cannot call a thing belief except when the mind cannot conceive the thing being otherwise, as we have explained before. But if he investigates and he shows thereby that he is in doubt, and if we grant that he is permitted to investigate, he shows thereby that he is in doubt, and if we grant him that he is permitted to investigate, suppose he has investigated and compared the principles of his religion with that of another, we found that the principles of the other religion is truer than that of his own. Is he permitted to exchange his religion for the other? Question. If he's permitted, the result will be that no man professing a religion can be made happy or be saved by his belief. For if, having compared the principles of his religion with that of the other, and found the latter truer than his own, he has exchanged his religion for the other. Is it impossible for him to be firm in his belief of the other religion which he has chosen, because it's impossible that the other investigation and comparison between the second religion and the third, he may find principles of the latter more satisfactory, and will have to change the second for the third, and the same way the third for the fourth, and the fourth for the fifth, and so on indefinitely. The result will be that no man will be firm in his belief until he has completed his investigation of all the religions in the world and chosen one in preference to all the rest. But there is the possibility that there is a religion that at the extreme end of the inhabited world which is unknown to him, and which is truer than all the rest. No man therefore can be saved by his belief, for he cannot have perfect faith until he has investigated all religions, and cannot investigate all religions as we have seen. It would have seemed that then the person should not be allowed to investigate the principles of his religion so as to reach a sure belief. But if our conclusion is that one is allowed to investigate the principle of his religion, then one of two things must be true. Either all the religions lead to human happiness, and one has no advantage over the other in the matter of reward and punishment, since no one is allowed to investigate the principles of his religion, no, not to change it for another. But it is quite impossible that the religions which are directly opposed, the one affirming that the other denies, the one Trinitarian, obviously Christianity, the other monotheistic, should equally lead to happiness. On the other hand, we say that they do not both lead to happiness, but one of them only, a great absurdity will follow, namely that God is guilty of injustice, God forbid, heaven forbid, in punishing those who profess a false religion, claiming to be divine, since the believer has no right to budge from his religion or to change it for another, or to entertain any doubt concerning it. The difficulty applies to all divine religion, and we must try to solve it. Our solution to this question is as follows. If it were true that all known religions of the world are opposed to one another, everyone saying that the other is not divine, the question we raise would be the difficult one indeed, and hard to solve. But since all religions agree in accepting the divinity of one of them, the only objection is to be that according to them it was temporary in character, and it is time that has passed. Our opinion is that every one should investigate the principles of his religious belief. That's why I always tell Christians, by the way, this is within parentheses, that the best way you can be a better you is to learn more about your own faith from within, from the text and manuscript. Obviously, there are issues, and when you raise and deal with those issues, you may come to realize what Rabbi Albo is referring to. This applies also without any doubt to those religions which are opposed to the one divine law, for no one should allow himself to be persuaded to believe something in opposition to admittedly divine law, except after the investigation of the law, the second or third, which he is inclined to believe, and the principles thereof, as we have explained already in the previous videos. And for the admittedly divine law one professes, it should also inquire whether it is temporary or eternal. And if it should turn out that it's not to be eternal, wherein the change is likely to occur. This is also reason why Maimonides, for his saying in the 40th chapter of his second book of the Guide of Perplexed, that it behooves everyone to investigate the religion which he professes. Here lies the big question. Have you investigated your own religion? The religion which he professes, and he says that the investigation should embrace two aspects. Number one, the religion itself, he must examine the commands and prohibition, and if he finds that their sole purpose is to remove the wrongdoing and violence and to maintain order in the affairs of the state, he must know that it is a conventional and not a divine law. If, on the other hand, he finds that in addition to removing the wrongdoers and violence, it also takes to indicate true ideas about God and the angels and the endeavors to enlighten man and to awaken them to the nature of truth in relationship to all things that shows it is divine. The second aspect of the investigation is that the founder of the law in question, the alleged prophet or messenger who claims that the law is transmitted through him by God, must be examined with a view to determine whether his claim is genuine or whether the content of his law are borrowed from someone else. The thing to examine is that man's character and conduct. The best test of genuineness is that he abstains from corporeal indulgences and holds them in contempt, especially the sense of touch, which is a disgrace to us, as Aristotle said. This is the great gist of Maimonides' words in that chapter. So when he says that it's a test of the law itself, if it takes pain to inculcate true ideas about God, etc., he's alluding to the religion which ascribes to God corporeality and Trinity, reference to Christianity. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehakol nehiyah bevaro. And when he speaks of testing the very moral qualities of the founder of the religion, he is alluding to that man who claimed that he was a prophet of the Arabs. Islam, according to the Arab accounts, he was addicted to physical and sexual indulgences. But this is not sufficient to enable us to differentiate a law laid down by a wise man containing true principles, just as a divine law might have. The founder himself being a man of noble character and conduct from a divine law. There's no way of telling whether it is a real divine law or a human law which resembles the divine. My opinion, says Rabbi Albo, therefore, is that there is a twofold examination of which Maimonides speaks, and is to be understood in the following way. First, the principle of religion in question must be examined to see whether they agree with the principle of divine law which we have mentioned, and also secondary principle derived from the first must be examined, as we have explained in the previous videos. If we find that the religion in question is in agreement with, or that at least not in opposition to, the primary and secondary principle, and at the same time it endeavors to suppress wrongdoing and to inculcate true ideas among the people instead of foolish fancies in vogue among women and common people, and to arouse them to a desire for human perfection, that shows it is divine. Now, similarly, our rabbis says in Torah Kohanim, Rabbi Akiva said, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself," is a great principle of the Torah. Ben Azai said, "The book of the generations of Adam is a greater principle of the Torah than that. By this it's meant to indicate that the divine law must embrace both the topic, the suppression of the wrongdoing, and the violence among the inhabitants of the land, as alluded to in the expression, "Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself," and directing the attention of the people to true ideas and human perfection, which is alluded to in this verse in the beginning. That is, and this is, the book of generations of Adam, which continues with the words, "In that day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him," indicating that man has a human form, which is in the likeness of God, and therefore he must be careful not to disgrace it, either in his own person or in the person of his neighbor. He must see to it that it should not survive, that it should survive death and unite with celestial beings in the place from which it originally came. And all of this is a divine law that should contain. But it is still possible that if the work of wise men and wise men, of a wise man or wise men, we must therefore examine it from a different aspect, namely the manner in which the messenger proved his authenticity, as only sent by God to transmit a law. If this matter is proved in a direct manner, as we explained in the previous videos, the law is divine. If not, it is spurious. It merely pretends to be a divine law, even though it acknowledges all the principles of primary and derived, much more so if it opposes them and any one of them. And here Rabbi Albo makes an inference to that which is called Christianity today, in which that it could have a lot of claims, but unless it's able to prove the messenger itself, it becomes a problem. And so in chapter 25, which will be the last chapter in this first book, he will inquire as to whether there must be a divine law for all mankind, or whether there may be more than one divine law or not. So please stay tuned for our next video on chapter 25, which will end the first book of Sefer Haikkarim. This is Rabbi Moshe Otero. And remember, be part of the ways of Israel. Be part of this great good that we're doing, informing and educating the general public of what the basic foundations and concepts of Judaism is all about. Shalom, shalom, and have a wonderful week. This is Rabbi Moshe Otero. And remember, be part of the ways of Israel. Be part of what we're doing worldwide by contributing whatever you can right now. Your tzedakah, your donation, will be of great help. Thank you. May God bless you richly with the blessings from above as well as from below. Shalom.